How's it going, people? I just wanted to make this gonna be a quick video. I was recently in Washington D.C. and right around the National Mall, where Smithsonian is, White House, and Capitol Building, all that. And there was some cart witnessing going on there. So in the last several months, I've been in Washington D.C., Atlanta, Chicago, Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and I've seen cart witnessing in every single city. Um, but it just strikes me as kind of weird what goes on now. When I first envisioned cart witnessing, I thought it was just another way for people to be stationary but still be able to go out and preach and everything. But what I've been witnessing, I don't know what you guys have seen, but what I've seen is they just stand there. They don't necessarily approach anyone. They don't try to, walk up to anyone with a watchtower or anything. They just kind of stand there and look, and kind of look around. So in DC, when I was just there a few days ago, over on one side we have people standing in front of the White House protesting for Syria. Down the street a little bit, we got people protesting at the Capitol building. I think Jane Fonda or whoever was there protesting that. We've got the Secret Service, running around with their guns. We got these guys break dancing, right, on the just past the fence of the White House, trying to get money from people. And amongst all that, we have the witnesses just standing there, about 7 of them, and they were just standing there, just looking at people. And it just was weird. Like, that's not what I remember back, when I would be out witnessing. If that was back then, it seems like we'd be walking up to people, talking to people. But what I've noticed, and not just there, in all these different cities, is really they're just using it to get time, I guess, right? They're not really, they don't really seem too what's the word for it, ambitious, or they don't really seem like they're trying to get the point across, but they're waiting for people to come up to them. And from what I've seen, that just doesn't happen too often. So they just kind of sit there looking down. A couple of them that I saw, this lady I saw in Atlanta, she literally was just looking down. She wasn't reading anything or anything. She just sat there just looking down at the ground like this. And everybody's just passing her by, but she's counting her time. So it's really just about counting time, I guess. They have the publications up there. When I was in DC, they had them up in probably 5 different languages. And the Watchtower, and they had some Bibles up, some other publications in several different languages, but they still weren't doing anything. They were just sitting there watching people. I'm not really. I've said it before in a couple of videos. I'm not really the cart crashing type. I don't really believe in that. The average witness sitting there doesn't really mean anyone any harm. They're just believing what the lies have been told to them. And they're doing the work that they think is right. But this in DC, and kind of why I made this video, we were watching these break dancers that were running around doing all these flips, and they were trying to collect money from people, and they were setting up this big finale where they were going to like jump over 4 or 5 people or whatever. And so I was standing near. I just happened to be standing near where the cart was, and so one of the witnesses that was there, said, "Oh, they're about to hustle some more people." And I kind of laughed, said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Oh, they do this every 15, 20 minutes. They set up this big stunt, and then they don't end up doing the stunt. They're going to run around and collect all this money. It's just a hustle." I said, "Oh, okay, that's pretty funny." And then I said to him, "Hey, you're a Jehovah's Witness, right?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Hey, what happened at Bethel? I heard that they kicked all these people out and like left them with nowhere to go, and that's your place, right, Bethel?" And he said, "Oh yeah, that's our place, but that's not what happened. That's not what happened. Our God Jehovah is just getting us ready for the end times, and so we're refocusing our ministry in another direction." And so he really believed it, and then he was a little bit younger. So another brother who had been listening a little bit walked over, probably to make sure the younger guy didn't say anything wrong, but he jumped in and said, "Oh yeah, no, Bethel, oh no, we're still fully staffed there. We just refocused our efforts in the way that we're trying to reach the last few people who haven't been reached at the end of the system of things, and then asked me if I would like a publication, if I would like a Bible study and all those things." I said, "No, I'm okay." He asked how I knew about Bethel. I said, I just heard about it. And I heard that there was like a massive layoff that just wasn't good for people. And he just, went on and on for about 3, 4 minutes defending that that's not what happened at Bethel. Not surprising because, that's what I would expect them to say. But I kind of left them, said, okay, thanks for the information, and went on about my way, Smithsonian, the other stuff I was doing down there. But it just really made me think that the way that they were standing there, I kind of had to bring it up. They didn't even try to witness to me in any way. I had to bring it up. But the way these cart witnessing people are just kind of standing around now, and looking at people, it's just kind of funny. That's never the way I envisioned when I was a kid witnessing. I remember I would be in the car with my mom. We would run up on people at the bus stop, waiting for the bus, and jump out on them. A couple times we scared people, like, "Hey, you want a watchtower?" It was kind of crazy. Early in the morning, like 6 o'clock in the morning at the bus stop. I hated those days. Missed all my Saturday cartoons. But anyway, it also made me think about my trip to Bethel. When I first went to Bethel, I was about 10 or 11 years old. And at that point, I thought I wanted to go to Bethel. As a kid growing up, that's what they tell you in the congregation. You should go to Bethel. You should be a Bethelite. That's the biggest honor. So there was a sister in the hall that was friends with my mother, and her son went to Bethel. His name was Dante, I think. So he was in Bethel, and about every 3 months, his mother would drive up, bring him some snacks, bring him some socks and clothes and stuff like that. So this time she asked my mother if she wanted to go, and so she brought me. So we drive overnight, getting to Bethel, and we get there, and he was in Brooklyn. We get there. We didn't even make it out the car. He grabbed all these snacks and just just started eating all the snacks, and it was nothing even great. It was like some little Debbie cakes and Lay's potato chips or something. But he was like devouring them, and I'm like, man, what's going on? He said, oh, I never get this kind of food unless it's when my mom brings it to me. So it's such an exciting time for him. And I'm like, y'all don't have snacks here? He said, well, we do, but we don't really have money to buy snacks, So that was my first little piece saying, I like snacks. Don't know if I want to be here. So we go in and see his room. It looked like a dorm room to me. It's very tiny. I think it was a bunk bed, but it was so long ago, I can't really recall. But I think it was a bunk bed. It was very small. I just remember like maybe two little desks, and I thought a bunk bed, but it could have been two beds, in the room separate. But extremely tiny room. And he said, they don't really get much privacy. He was telling me about his work schedule, and when his roommate had a different kind of work schedule. So sometimes he'd be asleep, roommate come in, wanting to be up with the lights on, studying his Bible or whatever. But I just remember being extremely cramped. In their particular room, I don't even think they had a television. And so that was like my second piece saying, I don't think I want to go to Bethel. This was like, very poor living is just how I saw it. I already knew about being poor. I didn't want to turn 18, go to Bethel, and be poor again. So that was my second piece of knowing I don't think I want to do that. My third piece, and one of the pieces that really got me, is he showed me two different wallets. I was asking a lot of questions about Bethel. And he showed two different wallets, and he said he goes to the congregation, to the Kingdom Hall on the subway. But a lot of the brothers, he said, had been getting mugged on their way there. So his congregation happened to be, I think it was in the Bronx, if I'm not mistaken. But he had one wallet that just had about $20 in it, and like some other little junk stuff, nothing real important. And he said he kept that wallet visible in his pocket, so that if somebody mugged him, he could just give up that wallet, and hopefully they don't kill him or beat him up or whatever, and he'd go about his way. And then his other wallet, which was a thinner wallet, but it had like all of his real stuff, like his money, his ID, social, whatever he had in it. And he would like hide that like in his underwear, so that if he got mugged, they would just take that wallet and not his real wallet. So that was my third piece of saying, all right, so y'all really can't afford no kind of snacks. You live in these little tiny cramped quarters. You might get beat up and mugged. It felt like prison. When you start to compare all these things, it's like, okay, this is about how you live in prison. But anyway, he told us about what he got paid. which tied right into why they didn't have any money for living. Now, at the time, I don't even remember how much he said, and this was a long time ago. I was 10 or 11, but I just remember it being a very little allowance that they would get in order to live. And yeah, they got their meals there, but they had to be there at a certain time. And then he said the food really wasn't good at all. So it really felt like a really bad place to be, honestly. As a kid, I'm like, I don't know. This isn't what I envisioned for myself. So I had a different idea of what it was before I visited, though. I thought it was, I thought there was like, angels on the ceilings watching over everything, and everybody just walked around happy and full bellies and everything they could possibly need. But no, real life there looked pretty rough, man. It looked like a prison, like I said. But it's kind of, when we left there, I kind of knew I didn't want to go to Bethel anymore. I don't want to live like that. But anyway, I tell that story just because when I started talking to that brother at the cart in DC, he really those two brothers, they were really very defensive of Bethel and what happened at Bethel. So I just wanted to make a quick video about it. But in the comments, tell me what you've been seeing with the cart witnessing. Has it been like that everywhere? Is it maybe just my experience? But it just seems like everywhere I am, they just stand there, look around, stare at people, and wait for someone to come up to them. It seems like a lot of them don't even really want to make eye contact with you. They're just getting their time. I guess it's come down to that, just getting your time. But thanks for watching. I'm going to start having a lot more videos up lately. I've been real busy with my businesses and getting some things arranged, a lot of traveling lately, but I'm going to start having a lot of videos up. Someone sent me a message, and I ended up connecting with somebody who had seen a video and said they could relate. And that's really the only reason I started making videos, people that I saw I could relate to. And even if it just helps one person somewhere, feel a little more comfortable or feel like they're not alone, that's what I'm all for. So leave a comment, follow if you haven't, and I'm going to start getting a lot more videos up. Thank you.